One night, 100,000 lives. The deadliest air raid in history. Tokyo, March 9, 1945. Tokyo slept beneath a quiet sky. Families finished dinner. Children were tucked into bed. Nobody knew that before sunrise, their entire world would vanish. Two siblings pulled into the center of a war they never chose. Cities fell. Order collapsed. Meet Keiko and Haru. This is their story. Tokyo in early 1945 existed in a strange kind of waiting. Wooden houses stood shoulder to shoulder, their paper walls glowing soft yellow from oil lamps. Narrow streets still carried familiar sounds, footsteps on packed dirt, quiet conversations drifting through open windows, the click of bicycles being wheeled inside before curfew. Air raids had come before, high-altitude runs, distant thuds, the occasional fire. People told themselves Tokyo was different, too important, somehow protected. Inside a small house near the Sumida River, 13-year-old Keiko carefully wrapped their family documents in oiled cloth, birth records, land papers, a single photograph of her parents before the war. Her hands moved with the calm precision of someone who had done this many times. These were the things that couldn't be replaced. Across the room, 8-year-old Haru was losing his fight with sleep, clutching a cloth doll their mother had sewn from old kimono scraps. "Will the sirens come tonight?" he asked. Keiko paused. "We're ready if they do," she said. Their mother was out with the neighborhood fire patrol. Their father worked long shifts at a factory, sometimes sleeping there. Water buckets sat by the door. Shoes were lined up neatly, toes pointing outward. A heavy blanket soaked in water lay folded nearby. Tokyo had prepared for fire. Then the floor began to hum, not a jolt, a deep mechanical vibration rising through the tatami mats. "Keiko," Haru whispered. The sirens answered him, not the short warning people were used to. This was continuous, urgent. People flooded into the streets, faces tilted upward. The sky above them was dark and still. Miles overhead, hundreds of bombers descended lower than anyone believed possible. The mission had a bureaucratic name. Historians would later call it Operation Meeting House, a name that meant nothing to the people on the ground that night. The target wasn't factories or rail lines, it was the city itself. The first drops fell without sound. Keiko saw pale streaks cutting through the darkness, almost graceful, like fallen stars turned upside down. Then the night ignited. Fire spread faster than anyone could understand. Rooftops flared, streets glowed. Entire blocks caught almost at once. The heat arrived before the flames, pressing forward like a wall. Breathing became difficult. Smoke rolled through the streets, thick and blinding. The sky shifted, orange, then red, until it no longer felt like a sky at all. The fires weren't scattered. They formed a growing ring, closing inward, cutting off escape. And then the wind came. Not weather. Fire creates its own. Air rushed through the streets, roaring like something alive, pulling everything toward the center. People struggled to stay upright as the city turned into a moving furnace. "The river!" someone shouted. "Get to the river!" Keiko grabbed Haru's hand and ran. The streets they had known all their lives were gone. Landmarks vanished. The ground felt dangerously hot beneath their feet. She pulled the soaked blanket over them and kept moving. This wasn't chaos, it was collapse. If stories like this matter to you, stories about real people caught inside history's darkest moments, Subscribe to Broken World. These are the stories history books compress into a sentence. The Sumida River was crowded with people. Some stood waist deep in the water. Others clung to floating debris. Embers fell, hissing as they touched the surface. Keiko waded in until the water reached her shoulders, holding Haru close and keeping his head above the surface. She counted his breaths, one by one. Around them were coughs, murmured prayers, long stretches of silence. The firestorm lasted for hours. Entire neighborhoods didn't burn so much as vanish. Streets, homes, and familiar places erased. Some people reached the river, others didn't. Shapes drifted slowly past. Keiko turned Haru's face into her shoulder. "Is it morning yet?" he asked. "Soon," she said. Time had stopped meaning anything. Dawn came without birds. Smoke hung over the city so thick that the sun appeared as a dull red circle. Keiko helped Haru onto the riverbank. They were alive. That fact felt unreal. The city was gone. People wandered through ash and silence, clothes burned and torn, faces distant and hollow. Only later would the scale become clear. Over 100,000 lives lost in a single night. Entire districts erased. One of the deadliest air raids in human history. Keiko didn't know any of that. She only knew their home was gone, that her brother was breathing, that her mother never came back. Tokyo would rebuild. It always does. But those who lived through that night carried it forever. The heat, the wind, the silence that followed. War isn't only fought by soldiers, it's endured by children holding on to each other in the dark. History isn't just dates and numbers. It's a girl protecting papers she'd never see again. A boy asking if the sirens will come. A city that vanished before morning. This is what war looks like, from the ground. If these stories matter to you, subscribe to Broken World.